Welcome to Mystic Moon Cafe. All righty.
Love it. Spooky. Welcome everyone to Mystic Moon Cafe. Woo.
Hey,
Another Wednesday night.
look the way that I do.
We have some amazing people here with us tonight. Michael is here. Ross is here. Wendy is here. Jake is hiding in the background as usual.
As usual.
As usual. And Michael, you're going to introduce our star guest tonight.
Yes. Hello, everybody. It's great being back on here again. I wanted to introduce you guys to my good friend, Bob Weiss, who owns, in my opinion, one of the most haunted places in the United States and definitely one of the most haunted bars I've ever been to, called Shaker's Cigar Bar. And yeah, Bob, definitely say hello and tell us a little bit about Shaker's.
Michael, Wendy, Ross, Sonia, Jake, et al. I am honored to be here on the Mystic Moon Cafe podcast, and it is a kick. And you know, let's tell some stories, man. I am always slain by the opportunity to interact with other people that are so much into the paranormal that it is a driving force in their lives. There's so much in the world that it just escapes the mediocrity of normalcy. So cheers, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us tonight. It's a true honor. Mike's been wanting to have you on here for a while, and we finally got it all set up and ready to go. And so here we are tonight.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's doing all kinds of stuff on YouTube, on the Shaker's channel, running the Shaker's Ghost Tour and the Jeffrey Dahmer Tour. So it's definitely one of my favorite tours in the United States. And I mean, it's a really good tour. I mean, if you guys are up in Milwaukee area and want to learn more about Jeffrey Dahmer, there's a tour you can learn about where he took his kidnapped and abducted his victims. And Ross and I have both taken that tour, and we've kind of been all around up and down Shaker's, and it's a good place.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So let me, if I can, just get a little background for all of you here, is that the building was in 1894. It was constructed as a cooperage house for Schlitz. They made wooden barrels here. Obviously, as Prohibition came on the scene, there was no need for wooden barrels anymore. The building was dormant for a while, and it was acquired by the Capone family, who put a speakeasy here. So obviously, Chicago is a simple 90 miles away. So the speakeasy downstairs, and a fairly luxe situation at the time. So mahoganies and oak and stained glass. It was a really nice little setup. Then you had brothels on the second and the third floor, and the brothels you made until 1946, which is well past Prohibition, but clearly a lucrative business. So before that all took place, on this location, this was one of the 3 original cemeteries in southeastern Wisconsin for non-Indigenous people. The Indian burial grounds were right across the street from us along one of the rivers in downtown Milwaukee, but this side was for the Europeans. And at some point in the early 1830s, a lot of those remains are moved to something called the Forest Home Cemetery, about 8 miles away or so. But that was based upon whether or not your family could afford to move you or cared to move you. And what resulted was we have fragments of all sorts of things and people that are downstairs. We've used ground penetrating radar from Discovery World, and you see body parts. All the way in the back, in the eastern portion, we have 2 virtually intact skeletons that go to 1924, the same year that the Capones acquired the property and poured a cement floor downstairs in the basement. So obviously what worked in the 1970s for Jimmy Hoffa worked in the 1920s for the Capones as well. And then we have all sorts of other stories. Every floor here, all 4 floors are ripped with something. In 2001, I found the remains of one of the hospitality workers in the floorboards on the 3rd floor. And it turned out that we get a research. She was one of the A girls, one of the prostitutes that was murdered and hacked apart up here. And that is the beginning of what takes place at Shaker's.
Nice. Very nice.
That sounds
Now-
like a fabulous ad for somewhere to stay,
know.
for a
Mhm.
hotel, for a nice romantic getaway. I think
Well,
that's
So it's odd you mentioned that because we do offer this as an Airbnb, and about 15 or 18 times a month it is occupied on the third floor. And it's a beautiful pet-a-terre, the kind of place to bring your niece perhaps, or someone else. But a lot of people don't make it through the entire night.
I'd say somebody should write a book about this place, huh?
Huh.
I know. Look at you.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's a great place. I enjoyed my visit out there. I know when we went out there, God, it's been a few years now.
Yeah.
We were filming our sizzle and some experiments out there, and had a great experience.
Oh yeah.
So,
It was definitely one of those
And it was.
horrifying
I
places.
know you guys are. I was waiting for you guys to ask. I was just trying to be
And what was
polite, you
that?
know.
Tell us about your experience, Ross. What happened?
So we were introduced to the place because it was a brothel, and one of the places I like to visit in my investigations. And so Bob was really great. He gave us the place for a couple nights, and we did some experiments out there. And Mike was there. So so our first night there, Mike was staying upstairs, which seemed to be one of the more active rooms, by himself. So he was up there. And I remember, you know, as we were wrapping up for the night, we were all getting ready to turn in, you know, Mike was pretty terrified.
I was. I've never been that scared in my life.
Yeah.
And
he was like, he kept asking me, he's like, you know, do I have to stay here? Do I have to spend the night here? Can I just go sleep in my car? And I was like, come on, Mike, I need you, you know, grow some balls and do this for us. I want to see what's going on. You know, what happens when a guy spends the night in the room. So we had cameras on him and everything. So he finally was like, okay, I'll do it. So I was sleeping on the second floor, and I was on the couch. David Weatherly was with us, and so he had the bed back there. And I'm not gonna lie, you know, a lot of times when I stay at haunted places, my senses tend to be on high. And it's not that I'm afraid or anything, it's just I don't want to miss anything. You know, I don't want to sleep through a ghost moving around the room or anything like that. So I tend to be on high. So any pop, crack, anything like that I normally just sleep through in a lot of haunted places, I'll be up and looking around. So I could not sleep that whole night. I was literally up until, you know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And every time I'd start to doze off, of course, there'd be this weird noise in the room, and I'm up looking around, you know, what was that? What was that? So I didn't get any sleep. So I'm just, you know, I kept pulling out my camera and filming the room, trying to capture some of these noises on the recorder. And of course, when I turn on the recorder, it doesn't happen. So it's literally, I would say, close to 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm exhausted. I want to try and get some sleep because we still have another day ahead of us. And all of a sudden, I can hear Mike coming down the stairs. Now, where I'm sleeping on this couch, and the door actually has a window in it, so I can see out into the hallway. So, you know, I'm aware of what's going out there, and I can hear Mike coming down the stairs, and I'm thinking, oh, great. He's going to come to me and tell me he wants to go sleep in the car.
I'm scared, Ross.
Yeah. So I did not want to give him that gratification. So I'm just trying to ignore him, you know, and looking at my camera. And I hear him come down the stairs. I hear him come around the corner. Of course, you have to go past that doorway to go down the next staircase. So I see him through the corner of my eye walk right past the window. And so, you know, I'm just sitting there and I hear him, you know, go down the next flight of stairs. And so I'm like, okay, you know, I'm kind of being an ass, you know, if he was terrified or something like that, I should find out if he's okay. So I get up, I go downstairs, and as soon as I get to the first floor, the door's locked from the inside. And I really didn't think much of it because, again, no sleep whatsoever. So I basically unlock the door. I go out into the parking lot. I go to his car, and he's not there. So I go back in because I wasn't sure if he just kind of wandered off or something like that, went for a walk or anything like that. So I go back in, lock the door behind me, and go back all the way upstairs to check the room that he was in, and there he is in bed. And I was like, are you okay? What's going on? And he's like, I'm fine. I said, did you go downstairs? And he's like, no, I haven't left the bed.
I was too terrified.
Yeah. So I'm kind of frustrated with myself because all the years I've been doing this, we're talking 30 years, I have yet to see a full body apparition. And the one time I could have seen one, I ignored it. Because I thought it was Mike,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was so scared. Like it was like the monster's under my bed. If I get up, it's gonna get me. That's how freaked out I was,
Oh,
I was hearing all these noises. It sounded like women talking on the first and second floor. And I'm completely alone and I'm hearing like full blown conversations. And that year we had a solar eclipse. I don't know if that had anything to do with enhancing any of the energy going in that place or not. But that's probably the most scared I've ever been in my life, other than Afghanistan, of course, and all that other stuff. But ghost hunting wise, that spooked the living crap out of me, and I almost I looked out the window, I waited for that sun to come up, and I was like, man, if I could open this window and just kind of sneak out the third floor, it ain't gonna be too good for me. But I was looking down there at that sidewalk going, it ain't that far of a jump.
wow.
Tuck and roll.
Scared away.
Tuck and roll.
Like, and I was telling
I
someone
can
this,
walk off a broken leg. That's no problem.
but that's okay. Like, I'll walk this off.
Ibuprofen. Ibuprofen. Suck it up.
Oh, I know. Ibuprofen or water, But I was
Yeah.
telling someone that I've seen more stuff at Shaker Cigar Bar than I have at Waverly Hills or anywhere else I've been. And that place is definitely special to me for sure. And every single floor of that building has activity in it. And I definitely challenge a lot of ghost hunters to try to stay the night there and let me know what you catch.
Well, I do have to
Absolutely.
say, that weekend, honestly, everybody on the team claims to have seen something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody. And that's kind of rarity too, because usually, half the team will have experiences, the other half won't have any. But everybody on the team says that they saw something, experienced something. So it was a good weekend for us, definitely. Thank you, Bob.
It was. Yeah.
Anytime,
I mean,
Ross. Anytime, of course.
I think even David Weatherly saw an apparition. It looked like he was saying a naked woman walked down the hallway, and he double taked it and was like, what the heck did I just see? And he chased after it, and there's no one there. And Ross and I were in the other room hanging out, and that tripped up David Weatherly pretty wild.
Ross, was that the full body apparition you missed? What the
Yeah.
heck?
I'm like,
I know.
You
I
really
know.
missed that. What happened?
I know. No, it was unfortunate. This one time I just really I didn't want to look because I seriously thought it was Mike, and I keep kicking myself because that's one of the experiences that I have yet to experience myself. I've seen dark shadowy figures move around, but I have not seen a full body apparition. So
Yeah, every time I've been there, I've always had something happen to me, and Bob can validate this. He and I, we've done a little bit of stuff for YouTube, but I just remember one night we stayed the night, which Bob was, it was so kind of him to let us stay there again and ghost hunt it, and we ended up seeing something again, and it was a dark, shadowy thing. It kind of looked like static on a television, but it was in the doorway upstairs near the porch. Like we were out there on the porch, like on the balcony, trying to like calm down because we were hearing all kinds of weird noises. And I'm like, I've been here a million times, and every time I'm in there, I always hear voices of people after the bar's closed and locked up for the night. I always hear like conversations and mostly it's women. And, I know all the staff is gone for the night. I double check. I'd walk downstairs and check, but there's this one instant where it was where Bob actually, I didn't know this till later on, where Bob found that deceased female. And we saw what looked like a static figure. It looked like a television, but it was just pure static. And it was an apparition, and I wasn't filming. I was just trying to calm down because Madison was freaking out. She was with me. I was trying to calm down too. And turns out, I think it was a few weeks later, Bob and I were doing something for YouTube. And Bob said, well, that's the area where he found, was it Molly?
Molly Brennan.
Molly
Correct.
Brennan.
Mhm.
And I saw an apparition
Wow.
where Bob found her, and I had no idea that he found her there. And that, I'm getting chills wearing a jacket, man. It freaked me out.
Well, the voices I can kind of account for, because when Dillinger was shot here by Warner Brothers in 1990, we kind of developed this thing. So they got all 4 floors are shut down. It's a closed set for Warner Brothers. And their mics that they've got everywhere are picking up this sound of 2 women that are kind of arguing, kind of chortling on the 2nd floor. And we'd come upstairs. Obviously, there's nobody here, but time and again, when nobody is here, you'd hear the sound of these 2 women. So that still happens frequently on the 2nd floor. In so much as there was a night, August, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, that my then girlfriend and I had just gotten back from Key West. We had a cancellation on a Saturday night for stayovers. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and she and I decided to come and spend the night upstairs. It's August. The AC is not turned on because you don't have a guest set up upstairs.
Ugh.
Hot, it's muggy, it's Wisconsin. But every stair that we ascend from the 1st floor coming up is getting colder and colder. And we get this almost like a cigar, smoky kind of cloud above us, but it stays with us and continues to ascend. So now we've gone from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. I locked that same door that Michael could talk about, where you flip the deadbolt, you go upstairs, and we're up there for just a few minutes, and things start to happen on the 3rd floor. And the first thing was that the smell, like a bad day in New Orleans or south of France, where the sewagey kind of smell starts to come up. But we're still there. And then that smell turns into like a stockyard kind of a thing, where you've got this fresh blood smell, and it's really pervasive, and it's everywhere. And then this sound, like a rhythm, like a pile driver, but very loud, this boom, boom, boom goes on. So she walks out to the back on the back deck to see what she can see. Again, it's 3 o'clock plus in the morning. There's nothing anywhere in the street, but it sounds like a pile driver kind of thing. So I decided to walk downstairs and walk out front to see what I can see. And as I'm descending the stairs between the 3rd and the 2nd floor, I'm now approaching the same door that 10 minutes earlier we had closed and locked, right? And I'm reaching for the deadbolt, and it sounds to me like these 2 women are there, again, chortling. Well, that doesn't bother me because I've been hearing this thing for years, right? I know what it is. It's just 2 women, and they're just chortling. But as I'm now reaching a little closer for it, the doorknob starts to turn, and I say to myself, well, gosh, I don't have to open this door right now.
Yeah.
And I go back upstairs, right?
I forgot something in the car.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're standing there talking about what I saw and what she didn't see. And this rhythm is going on. It's almost like a heartbeat. This rhythm just continues to go on. And then the sense, if you've been in the military, Mike, or anybody else, you can account for, same thing with the medical profession, there is a sense that you get when people die. And it's just a profound sense of emptiness. And it's really, everything is dulled, and there's a void, and it's really unpleasant. And so she and I both get this, and our eyes are wide open, and we just grab hands, toss our clothes back on, and hightail it down the stairs into my car, which is outside, and then drive home. I live about 15 miles west of here. The air is not out in the car. It's hot, muggy August, and we are freezing until we pull up in my driveway, open the car doors, and then it's another beautiful day in Wisconsin, right? But that same sound of the 2 women is heard often. And if you don't know that it's there, it can be really disconcerting to people.
It sounds like it could be.
Yeah.
The smells are interesting too, because different times the building, all 4 floors, and we are a restaurant, and we cook every day. And of course, we're a cigar bar, so there's the patina, the smoke on everything, and the smell as well. The aromas are here. But when you walk downstairs in that cellar, you get all sorts of different smells. Sometimes it's like turpentine, or any number of different chemicals are there. And sometimes it's like sewer gas, and yet there's no issue with the sewers. And sometimes it's like, old rotting vegetables or something, and and then it's just gone. So it appears and it's gone, but all 4 floors have something like that at different times.
Really interesting.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
There's even
Right?
there's stuff going down in the basement too, where there's a safe that I guess Bob hasn't been able to open or anything too. That supposedly moves around down there, and it was from the Al Capone era, wasn't it?
Well, it's
Bob?
before me. So the building goes back to 1894. And we could suggest it goes back to the Capone days, but who really knows?
Mhm.
But it's been there since, well, I've been here since 86. So it's been here since before I've been here.
Wow.
And to answer that question, we had a guy who was with the largest safe and lock company in Milwaukee County, who was a customer on a tour, and he said, I can open this. So starting in the next week, he would take his lunch break every Thursday for 50 weeks, and he came here, took meticulous notes, drank his Guinness, took meticulous notes, and at the end he said, this safe cannot be opened. So it doesn't have hinge pins, it's lead, it's 500 plus pounds, it's on casters that will move in, side to side, but you can see the markings on the floor where it has moved quite a bit. And sometimes even between tours, it's a foot or 2 or 3 away from where it was. There was one time where it was almost to the ice machine, which has got to be 15 feet away. And, we've got cameras everywhere. So the thing about the cameras in the cellar is that you don't see the safe move. You see the marks on the timeline that something is taking place, but it's all in grays and monochromatics as opposed to the black and white that this standard line is on our closer cameras. So at the same time, you see what looks like when a military jet takes off, there's a distortion in the air, like waves in the air kind of a thing. You'll see that. And then the picture is righteous again, and you see the safe is moved. You don't actually see it move, but you see where it is. You see this wavy thing, and then you see where it is now. Which I can't explain. It just is. And this can be 4 or 5 in the morning. There's nobody here anywhere. And that's the one thing that has changed.
Wow.
Wow. And Mike and Ross, did you guys get any audio while you're in there? Do you have audio files from the women talking or the walking or any of the tapping?
I do have some EVPs. There was I know one was of a male voice. I'm trying to think. What else have we got?
Yeah,
What
we
about
caught.
Go ahead.
I caught a couple EVPs, and it was from, I believe it was a bouncer, because we were asking the name, and I'm going to dig them up later, and I'll post them on this link to share with everybody. But we have a bunch of EVPs from that location, and I have to go through some more videos because I still have a lot to go through on Shakers. You'll walk out with a lot of EVPs, shadow figures we've caught. I'm gonna have to. I'll post them on this link for this show.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Check it out. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But get your paper written first, okay?
I know,
Yeah.
right? I'm telling you.
When Fox News was here, this is several years ago, they came in from Denver, Colorado, and they had a reporter who had all sorts of toys with him, and the Convention Bureau brought him here. He's writing a book, of course, upon the Midwest and Hawkins. So the Convention Bureau brought him here, and he said, I've got an hour at this location. That's all I've got. Great. So he's on a tour downstairs, and he caught incredible image that unfortunately he didn't share with us, except to look, here it is. But a soldier, full-size apparition in military garb that he would have worn as a Confederate. Now, what most people don't realize is that during the Civil War, a lot of Northern Irishmen fought for the side of the South because they're concerned that as slaves are freed, then they would have a better position in the ladder of society than the Irish did, a poor self-concept. So he caught that, and we have gone back and found that his name is O'Connor, and O'Connor is here every day, and he's very interactive. He likes the attention. He really likes blondes and redheads, maybe a bit too much sometimes. We had a former tour guide who is a very vibrant redhead, beautiful red hair, busty, and she's doing a tour, and the 7 o'clock tour, and she has a full tour of 15 people with her. and they're downstairs for maybe 10 minutes, and then suddenly everybody runs upstairs, and they're all just, beside themselves what's going on. So we get the story out of the people on the tour before Kelly would talk that her head had been yanked to the side, but people said they could literally see her hair standing out. So almost, Wendy, as if you were to take your own hand and grab your hair on the side and hold it, to the side.
Mhm.
People won't see the hand, but they'll see the hair standing out, and her head then is yanked to the side. So Kelly didn't drink, but she had a couple tequilas, and then, good player she was, she continued on with the tour. Now
Oh,
the
wow.
8:30 tour is going on, and she's downstairs, and yet again, after 10 minutes or less, everybody runs upstairs. Kelly, however, runs out the door. So the tour guides are talking about this time. Kelly is talking about what happened on the last tour, the earlier tour that night, when her hair was yanked, and she's making fun of whoever, I dare you to do it again or something. And this time she was pushed back against one of the fieldstone walls, and people said they could see like hand impressions on her boobs. And that was it for Kelly. So we maybe next saw her about 6 months later, and she cut that vibrant, beautiful red hair she had, dyed it black, and she swore, I will never go downstairs again. And I can't blame her at all. But that's O'Connor, who is generally very playful. He likes blondes and redheads. He'll caress their hair, he'll caress their thigh. But certainly whatever Kelly did that night, he took exception to.
Wow.
I
So
know that about
Wow.
I was going to ask, I know with COVID, for me, it closed all my tours, everything down. We're still closed down right now. How are you affected by all that? And what are you doing now?
I'm humbled to say, Ross, that we had a better 2020 than a 2019. Even though we were completely, as everybody in Milwaukee was, shut down for 3 months, utilizing every one of the COVID protocols, we opened back up for business, both for the tours, for the restaurant, for the bar, and we've been incredibly busy. So much so that we don't qualify for any of the grant monies or anything, because we did better sales in 2020 than in 2019. So we're that 1% that did that. And my tours in Savannah are doing very nicely. And we're expanding the entire series, though, to kind of address the COVID situation by doing this virtual video project. It's 5 cities, 13 tours, either tours that I own or things that I had some part of it in some way over the last 10 or 12 years. And now everything is filmed. We just finished Savannah last week, and a little hookup in Charleston as well. And now it's going to be edited. So in the next month or month and a half, we should have that ready. And we have a nibble from one of those big players out there from Netflix that might or might not be interested, but you well know what that can be.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are going to be in the Caribbean this summer. I'm going to be in Jamaica, in Haiti, and in Cuba, filming either Santeria, Obeah, or Voodoo. And I want to get more into the elementalist portion of the spiritual world with that. We want to go to Brazil, but the State Department said absolutely not. If you go, we can't help you. So that's on hold right now. And I sent the letters off to the embassies, and we're just waiting for their kickback on this. I know you probably know this as well, Ross. To film in different countries, they often want you to use equipment that's there, which is a huge pain in the butt. I'd rather they charge me more money for the license fee rather than have to rely upon someone else's equipment, because again, as you know, you don't know what equipment you have and suddenly it doesn't work and now you're stuck, right? And the downtime it's not inexpensive, again, as you well know, to go off and do these things in unusual and foreign places. So that's the next series that we have coming up. And this kind of fits in my whole world or thought of the world. And there's so much more that takes place in this planet, and in a very natural elementalist sense that we are oblivious to. Mm-hmm. So as far as the ghosts go, to me, it's basic metaphysics. Essence precedes existence, and in my mind at least, the fact that you die doesn't stop you from carrying on that energy force. So right. I think that we lose track of that here as well, that other societies rather embrace. And that's one of the reasons I want to get back into that. So whether you call it a ghost or spirit or energy, it's all the same to me. You continue on, it's just different.
I think
that sounds amazing.
I was going to say
Oh, sorry.
too, and having the opportunity to travel all over the world myself, and Bob, I know you do too. It's a fascinating when you get to take in the different cultures and their beliefs when it comes to the paranormal. You go to places, Asian countries, it's like you don't mess with their ghosts. It's bad juju. They literally, when something bad happens, somebody was murdered there, they'll literally just lock up the building and walk away from it.
Wow.
They don't want anything to do with it, because that just all stirs up bad things. Like that just stir up more bad juju, and it's just like, you just leave it alone. And so for me, like when I went to China and Japan, I had a hard time getting into haunted places because they just leave it alone, and they want you to leave it alone. They don't understand ghost hunting. You're asking for trouble if you're going into these places that they believe are haunted. And it's fascinating when you go into different countries and you learn about that. When I first did Rome, I was, and this is before ghost hunting was very popular as it is now. I went to the catacombs and I wanted to do some ghost hunting in the catacombs. And of course they're telling me, yeah, we got ghosts. They're firm believers in ghosts. Yeah, they got them. They're in the catacombs. They got tons of stories that they'll share with you. But when I said I wanted to go in and film and try to, capture them, they just didn't get it. They didn't understand why. You should just take their word for it. It's haunted. Yes, it's haunted. And it took me a good, couple hours to kind of walk them through what I wanted to do. And so they finally, locked me in a small section of the catacombs, because if you've ever been in the catacombs of Rome, they're massive and you can actually easily get lost. There are stories where people have been lost down there for days. And so they had to lock me in a certain section just so I didn't wander off too far and get lost. And they left me in there for a good hour and a half, and then finally came back and got me. And I did actually capture an EVP in when I asked, is there somebody here? It responds "sì," which is yes in Italian. Yeah. So
Very
Cool.
I definitely would love to do more world traveling. Unfortunately, COVID has kept us from doing that.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that, but I'm with you, Bob. I want to do some more documentation of a lot of these cultural beliefs. I want to do some more 360 actually filming, give people that opportunity to actually be there and feel what it's like when you turn around and you see. So I actually put in a lot of money into the 360 filming. So I got a nice 8K camera and everything. It's pretty sweet.
Well, thank God for the vaccine, because that has, again, opened up borders, and things as of this month in May are opening up for much of Europe. And it's not going to be 100%, obviously, but it still gives us the opportunity to get out and to play and to see that part of the world that we've been away from for a year.
So out of all your world travels, what do you think is one of your most favorite haunted spots?
good question.
Yeah.
I have so much to do, but I like Cuba for a lot of reasons, and I think that I've gone through a day and a half of the Santeria ceremony, both the
wow.
external altar and the altar that's on the inside of their structures. And I don't know if it's the bottle of aguardiente that you have to drink during this process, or the rooster blood that you drink along with this, which is an acquired taste, by the way.
What is it?
It's the blood of a rooster. They
Oh,
in the first day of this ceremony, they will cut the throat of a chicken, and you start with that. And the second day, it's rooster, and you get to drink pretty much all the blood of the rooster is drained out, and you're drinking that by itself. And then at some point, you get to mix this with the aguardiente, which is it's a sugarcane based rum for all intent and purpose.
okay.
So an alcoholic spirit that does kind of cut through this and help the process along. But whether it's the fact that you're stifling inside this building that's 105 degrees with no ventilation whatsoever, and you're on your knees on the floor chanting for a couple of hours, or you're drinking this bottle of rum, or if you're drinking this rooster blood, or the combination, but you have a out of body experience.
Sure.
So that to me has been rather profound, and it's not just centralized to the island of Cuba, but you have this very expansive, or I've had this really expansive view of everything, and your timeline changes, and it's really interesting. So that, I suppose, was the most profound experience. But right behind that, I'd say northern Spain, probably for me. Starting things off with the Spanish Inquisition Museum, and then staying at myriad places that were utilized during the Inquisition as well. The torture museums lead into these torture castles, where all sorts of unmentionable things would take place with people. The most destructive things that you could do to people took place here.
Mhm.
And just the pain, the anguish, the walls are alive with this sensation, the memory, perhaps, whatever it might be, of all these people that were tortured and disemboweled and eyes and whatever else. That was right behind Cuba, but a whole different type of sensation.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Wow.
So now I have to ask, do you have cravings for rooster blood now?
I don't know if I'd say it's cravings necessarily, but I mean, with the little crack sauce that we make here, it's not such a
Oh, I
bad
know,
thing for
man.
us. Maybe I'll bring some to you when I visit.
Do you often wake up at sunrise crowing?
I hadn't put the two parts together before, but perhaps.
Now that you mention it.
I was gonna say, man, I got some awesome sauce from Bob that he makes. He does a lot of cooking, so I don't know if there's any rooster blood in that or not, but I'll find out and let you all know.
There you go.
Perhaps you'll find out.
Oh,
Perhaps now you'll just say devotee, that it's just going to take a whole different course for you, Michael.
I know. That's the absolute truth.
Isn't it that
But-
You
same
met
rule?
Madison after all, isn't it? Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, isn't it that same rule? A magician never gives his secrets away. Come on.
Well, as a chef, I share most of these things. You can find that too on the YouTube channel. But
Mhm, mhm.
uh-huh.
I saw several wonderful looking recipes, kind of started salivating,
Oh, thank you, thank you. Wait till you come up to spend the night up here, of course, with my compliments, Wendy. But I'll be happy to cook for you as well.
Thank you. Fantastic.
But of course.
No, it's amazing. Like you guys are in a treat for that. Because what was it? We were there last weekend because that's our go-to. That's our number one bar in Wisconsin. And Bob made, I don't even know what dish it was, a meatball with cheese dish with some spices from all over the world. I've never even had that. I didn't even feel like it was in the United States, honestly. That's how good it was. Like, holy crap. But you guys are in for a treat when you go there. Anyways, I had a question, Bob. So tell me about the Jeffrey Dahmer tour a little bit. I didn't know. I knew that Dahmer had walked up and down that street near Shakers. I guess if you had anything you want to add on to the Dahmer tour and all that, the situations there.
Yeah, the Cream City Cannibal Tour is one of the 6 tours that we have under Hangman Tours banner, and it truly is the marquee tour. So Dahmer hunted in Milwaukee on South 2nd Street, and when I opened up in '86, it was us and a smattering of alternative lifestyle, gay bars everywhere, right? So I was attracted to this beautiful building, and that's the reason I'm here. And the clientele on both sides of me for a mile in each direction was other than, right? So Dahmer took well advantage of that beginning in the late 80s. And he was caught in 1991, July 24th, I believe. But he would hunt. And so Shakers at that time was open for lunch, and it's all corporate America, and it's judges and it's federal agents and high law enforcement and design firms and architects and whatever it is, right? A lot of law firms everywhere. So people that are all dressed the part as professionals. And then we get this guy that started walking in, I believe it was in January of 1991. And, the members only jacket kind of thing, the big goofy glasses, and just looked out of place. And he was very non-communicative. So Michael, you've been to Shakers. It's all women that work here, except for a dish dog. And perhaps one of the cooks would be male as well as me. And so he'd walk in, and Shakers has been very busy for 30 some years, and he would not allow the female bartenders or the servers to get him his cocktail. He would be insistent that a man would make the drink for him. So they would either get me to come out of the kitchen, or perhaps my sous chef to come out of the kitchen if I was busy, and to make him his gin and tonic. Simple cocktail, ice, gin, tonic, lime, done, right? And he would have these eyes, and I will never forget his eyes, because it's like I refer to watching Jaws or Jurassic Park, where you've got either the, you've got the shark, or you've got the dinosaur, and you got those eyes that pierce into you, but they look dead at the same time. And that's how I recall about Dahmer. He had those eyes, and that looked like gimlets just boring into you. And he never said, "My name is Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm a serial killer. You'll read about me." He just asked the gin and tonic, and, here's your money, and that's it. And he just sat there on a stool, and he just glared at everybody else. So my thought is that he would appear more frequently in 1991 as the year went on, which also coincided with the number of kills that he had. So I think that in his mind, as he's deteriorating, he's thinking he's going to go to the place where all the cops, the DAs, the judges are, because in his mind, he's the biggest badass in the room and nobody knows who he is, right? So he'd been cracked time and time again for all sorts of things, whether it was indecent exposure or all sorts of things, right? But they always just slapped his hand. "I'm sure you won't do that again, Mr. Dahmer. You're free to go," right? So the entire system made mistakes, whether it was the judges, the prosecutors, obviously the cops that returned him, his victim back to him. All sorts of things took place. This man, he really fell forward well until, of course, July 24th, 1991. And then his world fell apart, right? But so, we can say he was not a frequent at Shakers, but we would notice that what began in January was every couple of weeks, then he would be in until he was apprehended. And he was always this one really weird guy. So July 24th, he's apprehended. There's a flurry of police activity in and out of my joint. And then somewhere around midnight or so, two guys walk in that were longtime customers. Tom Jacobson, and I can't recall his partner's name. And they look white as a sheet would be, right? The wall behind you, perhaps. And, they walked in and they said, "Just give us a bottle of scotch." Well, we don't do bottles of scotch, but for these guys, they were in need. We gave them a bottle of scotch. That disappeared quickly, and now it's past close before you get them out of there. But they had told the story that they had the hazardous material detail for the city of Milwaukee. If you remember Time magazine, Life magazine, the front cover, the two guys in the hazmat suits carrying out the refrigerator, the freezer, the file cabinets, this is them. And of course, all the skulls that were found and everything else, the body parts, the vats that he used, the Soilax to dissolve people. So we got that inside story, and about 7:00 in the morning, I get a phone call from one of the federal agents who we've known for years, who said, "Would you mind opening up early? We want to have a small meeting away from people." I don't mind at all. So I'm groggy, and I drive myself back down. It's 7:30. I open the place up, and there's a couple of feds. There's the DOJ is there, the district attorney is there, as I recall, and a couple of cops and two Milwaukee reporters. And they were adamant, the law enforcement community, that they didn't want to talk to any of the national media people. They just wanted to talk to the two locals. That's it. And at that point, people were already converging on Milwaukee from everywhere, right? So there, I'm standing behind the bar trying to stay awake, and they're hanging the mugshot pictures around, telling about how they apprehended this guy and, the body parts, whatever else. And now there's a picture in front of me, and I'm like, time out. I recognize this guy. Here's my story. This is the really weird guy that would come in and ask for a gin and tonic. And that's my association with this. And then because we have, again, traditionally done everybody in that community, we had access to files, pictures, stories, all the detectives who processed him, everything else, we get their firsthand stories. So now we're really prolific with our tours. We do over 10,000 people per year just on the Ghost Tour, not to mention the other tours. And my girlfriend and I are in Key West again. And at this point, it's maybe 2010 or so, and people would say, "Where are you from?" We'd say Milwaukee, and they'd say, "Oh, Jeffrey Dahmer." So after we heard this for a dozen or 20 times, that first day that we're there again, I said, we must do a Dahmer tour. So that's the reason that we did this. We already had all the material, all the source, everything is provided to us. And the personal association as well. And we do that. So we literally get people that fly in. And after that Netflix piece came out on Dark Tourist, it was like the gates were open, but now they're really open. So people flew in from Saudi Arabia, from India, throughout every country in South America, from Korea, from Japan, everything. And it's massive. And so up to that point, the Cream City Cannibal Tour was only in warm weather, right? Because it's Wisconsin after all, and it's snowy and cold. It's snowy and cold here, Michael, right?
Oh no, I was freezing in July up here. I was sitting there shaking. I'm like, oh, and Bob came out with this hoodie one day. I'll never forget this. Everyone's like, oh, it's a nice summer day, and I'm over there just kind of doing this, you know.
Yeah,
And everyone's looking, going, you okay, Mike? I'm like, it's cold as hell up here. So Bob came out with this shaking hoodie. I still have that hoodie. I still wear it all the time.
Yeah. So anyway, we do this tour year round, and it's Friday and Saturday nights, and it is mostly full, and you can reserve that on hangmantours.com. But we also do the Whoring 20s tour. Milwaukee was known as the best entertainment city in the country from 1885 until 1910. We had more brothels than anywhere else. The opium dens, the gin mills, more than San Francisco, more than New York. Because we had a mayor named David Rose, who of course got his piece of the action, but he promoted all these things and protected them. 1910, the socialists came to power and they boarded up the brothels, which doesn't put them out of business. It just moves them away from City Hall. Brothels is City Hall, and brings them down to my area, Walker's Point, and that's then where we lead into the Capones having the brothels here. We do the Milwaukee Dead Tour, and starting in June, we have the Milwaukee Mobster and Mafia Tour. And you might say Mafia in Milwaukee, you know, New York, Chicago, sure. But what most people don't realize is that the mob in Milwaukee controlled much of the action in St. Louis, in Kansas City, in Las Vegas, in Reno, Nevada, and even in San Diego, which generally is not known at all as a mafia thing. But the spread was huge and all controlled here, and mostly by the head of the mafia at the time, who was named Frank Balistreri, who's deceased now. But he ran this massive empire out of Milwaukee. And fortuitously, we also have connections through many of the OC department of the police department, organized crime, and the feds. We have much of that backstory as well. So that will be a choice tour. Our original ghost tour, the 3 centuries, the 4 floors, and the 2.0 tour, Wendy, which uses divination rods. And it is the craziest thing in the world, because the first time a psychic brought her rods into us, I'm like, this is ridiculous. There's no way this is going to work. The responses, and I see this every single day that I walk on one of the tours. I don't have a tendency to do tours as much as I used to, but I try to get myself involved at some point. And to see the tour guides with the rods, or just a guest holding the rods and asking questions that people would not know the answers to or anything else, it slays me, the interaction that we have with the spirits here. It's really cool.
Neat.
I actually took one of the rods. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, I was just going to say, I always thought they might be easily manipulated by the holder, even if it was not consciously, but subconsciously. But I've never actually used them. So.
Well, when you come, you certainly should.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm thinking, sorry, Mike, I'm going to go just a little bit. You need to come to Kansas City, because there is a bar steakhouse place downtown. It's where Pendergast used to run the whole city from back in the 30s and 40s, I believe it was. And it's a steakhouse cigar bar now.
Fantastic. I love it.
Yes. Yeah. Called the Majestic. So.
And they serve rooster blood, right?
Well, of course.
I request only, though. Yeah.
There's like a secret word to order it, right?
That's right. Right. Well, and I'll get the password. It'll be okay.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was going to add on to Bob with the rods there. I actually took one of the rods, and I'll never forget this. I actually placed one on the table on the 3rd floor. I didn't even touch it. All right, I wanted to make sure I didn't touch this rod just to try different experiments. And I'll ask it questions, and I've literally watched those rods move on their own. And I promise you guys, I'm going to film it
Okay.
when it happens again. I have seen them move on their own without anyone touching them. And that, when I was like, oh, okay, I've heard different theories behind them. But the fact that I don't even have to touch it, I can walk away from it, that just blew me away.
Mhm.
And one cool trick is I used to take like a little coin over there, and I'd put it up the stairs downstairs on Bob's in the basement area. And I was there, been there a couple times now. And I had a coin. It wasn't even really like touching the edge, but I've literally watched coins fall down that step. And there's a stairway that goes to nowhere down there. And it was due to, I believe it was Bob can tell you, the stairway that goes to nowhere down in the basement.
Well, most likely that was installed by the Capones as the way to get out underneath or behind the bar. We also had tunnels in the front of the building that had been closed off by the city of Milwaukee at one point. But again, you could have had egress to get out of the building and get in these tunnels and scurry away.
Wow. Like,
Ooh.
and I've literally watched a penny fall down that step, and it wasn't even on the edge fully. I just saw it just flop off it. And I've literally, I've seen it with my own eyes down there. And I don't know if that was O'Connor. I don't know if it's because I brought Madison with me, which O'Connor has a good taste in women, by the way, because I got a little redhead leg. So, I mean, it could be her causing it. I don't know. I have no idea. Those are more experiments that we're gonna have to go back and try, especially you guys, Ross, coming up, and try some new tricks. And I'm already coming up with different ideas right now. Actually, I'm brainstorming because every time I've been in there, I've just been mind blown.
So how did you set up the dowsing rods then if you weren't holding them so they swung freely? Did you just rest the handle on the table and let it hang?
Yeah, that's what I did. I let it hang off the table, and it was up there on this coffee table on the 3rd floor. And I would literally watch them just roll back and forth, and I'd stay away from them and make sure that it was a level area. And I'd say, if anybody's here, can you move the rod? And I'll literally watch the rod that's facing down turn and pivot to like a 90-degree angle. And I've watched it do that. Another cool thing about that 3rd floor is I've slept there a couple times now, and I've literally had the sheets pulling off me while I've been awake. Like something actually grabbed the sheet at the end of the bed. And I've never felt this before in my life. And yeah, that place I've been there a million times. I'm still terrified of it. So that's a good thing.
Well, what I often sense in that penthouse in the dead hooker's bedroom is that I'll wake up at some point, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I have the impression there's someone sitting on the bed next to me. And sometimes you actually see the indentation, or sometimes it's like something is sitting on your chest. And a lot of the staff here, we of course, we make everybody who works here spend the night upstairs alone or with somebody else is fine.
It sounds like a hazing ritual.
Yes, it does.
I was going to say, it's probably pay up or get out. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to be alone at some point, so you have to know what you're in for, right?
Right.
So what many of the Shakerites talk about is waking up with not just this sense that something's on top of them, but they've got this paralysis that they can't move. Kind of like what Michael was talking about. They're so scared of something they hear.
Right.
I also hear what sounds like when a woman's stiletto is walking back and forth on the same level that I'm on, and I'll get up and I'll walk around. Of course, there's nothing there. And then it sounds like there's someone walking above you. And not just like one person delicately walking, but there's someone walking above you, and you're on the top floor. I mean, the thing above you is the roof, and there's no access to the roof, right? And there's no large trees outside or anything else. You can't scale to get up there. There's nothing there, but you hear very distinctly people walking or something walking above you. So you're gonna have fun when you come.
Absolutely.
Reindeer.
Yeah. I think I'm headed for a cross-state Native American burial ground Bigfoot hunt this weekend. So
Fun.
that'll be the test of all of my medications, and if I survive that one.
Well, Wendy, I have to ask. So, is it Bigfoot or is it Sasquatch?
Oh, in that region, it's probably, you know what? I don't know. It might even be Momo, the Missouri Monster.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell sometimes.
If you get an autograph, I'd be interested in seeing that. So.
Okay, all righty, yeah. And then I'll have it up on eBay shortly after.
You got to come hunt over here in the Pacific Northwest. We apparently have quite the population.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah.
Perhaps off camera we'll talk about that. Maybe I'll bring a videographer out and we'll come and pay a little attention. I mean, I love the Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah. You're welcome anytime. There's a few of us over here.
I know. I try to get away every time, and here I keep coming back. You know.
But come in the summer. Don't come in the winter. Although it might be spring for you. If you leave Milwaukee in the winter and come here, you might feel like you're in Florida because it only gets down to 30 degrees here, not negative 20.
Oh,
Mike would still need a parka for that, I'm sure. But
oh yeah, definitely. I'm going to be.
We'll get him an umbrella.
If it's below 50, it's too cold for me.
Yeah.
You know, man, like this winter, I don't know how I did it. Like there was 2 full weeks. I looked at the wall and I just didn't go outside. I just looked at the ceiling and I said, nope. It was negative. It was negative 30. There was 2 cold weeks this year for me. It was in the negatives, and all the Wisconsin people were going, this is nothing. I'm like, the hell are you on, man? Because I want to try that.
Very mild winter.
See,
you gotta do what I do. I have those battery operated. I have a vest that has those battery packs that heat up. That's what keeps me going in the winter.
I need to invest one of those.
When I was about 9 or 10, I actually lived in Wisconsin. I actually lived in East Troy, Wisconsin, with my aunt and uncle. They have a dairy farm out there. And I remember the winters back then. The winters have not been the way they are was then. But when I was a kid there, I remember the snow was so deep that I could actually just dig tunnels in the snow to create forts.
Yep.
Wow.
I did not have to, build the fort itself. I could just dig tunnels throughout the snow, and there was my fort. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The snow drifts would go right up to the top of the house, and you could walk right up onto the roof of the house.
Holy cow.
I remember all that.
Oh, hell, man. That's freaking me out.
That's how they got on the cigar bar. It was the middle of winter, and they just walked up there off the snowbank.
That's probably right. There you go.
Or it was Santa and his reindeer landing.
I know. Like, I've been seeing a lot of houses that actually had roofs collapse here in Oshkosh. And yeah, it's from snow caving in and all this stuff. I've never seen that in my life, but I drove by a couple properties out here. And this is from this past winter, and we didn't really get that much snow. They said we had a snow drought, but I'm still kind of like shocked that snow stayed there that long, causing roofs to cave in. And I'm just like, well, thankfully I have an apartment, not a house. It has to be a haunted house. Hopefully the ghost will protect it. That's why I'm trying to buy a haunted one. But
there you go. Have good roommates that way.
Oh, I know. They watch over the house.
Yeah. They don't eat much. They don't take up a lot of room.
No.
But,
and if you had a good one, they'll clean your house too. Yeah, I remember that story. There was somebody who actually lived in a house, and they would actually go to work, and when they come home, the house would be clean. And they actually wanted somebody to get rid of the ghost. I'm like,
brownies.
Are you kidding me? For free housekeeping, you want to get rid of the ghost? I'm like, that's
married relationship that would save.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Whose house is that? Where is that ghost? I'm gonna bring him over here. I need that ghost moving with me.
I know. Like,
the mop is there, the broom is there. Got all your cleaning supplies here. See you when I get home.
Well, I think that's more elementals, the brownie fairies, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But if you talk about them or mention them, they go away and won't come back. Theoretically.
Oh, well, you just screwed yourself, Wendy.
I know.
Now yours are gone. They're gone.
I think they left a long time ago.
For From the looks of the dog here in my house, so did mine. Yeah.
Well, Bob, what does the Savannah tours, what does that entail? And do you have a Shaker's bar intended for there as well, or no?
I'm really working hard not to open up another establishment.
Okay.
It's difficult to run something from 1,000 miles away.
True.
Yeah.
So when we were down last week, we met a young lady on the Bonaventure Cemetery tour, which I would recommend to everybody. We don't do that, but the Bonaventure Cemetery, in my mind, is one of the most beautiful cemeteries in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And there is certainly, you will get sensations at the moment you step on that property, and you can have the profound interaction that you're looking for, because it is absolutely everywhere. So it's not just a matter of walking up to some of these beautiful, they're beyond tombs. I'm not quite sure what you'd call these, but these beautiful edifices that are there, you could touch them. And even before you make contact with your hand, you are feeling something. And it just continues on from that point. But we met a young lady there who had recently come back from working as a tour guide in Italy. And unfortunately, her mother is, dying of cancer. And so she is back in Savannah. And I am attempting to bring her on as a managing partner for my tours in Savannah. So at the moment, we are doing the local history and the haunting tour. There's squares everywhere. So if you watched Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, you get a sense for the properties that are paramount.
Mm-hmm.
So we certainly cover those. We cover the Colonial Cemetery. We cover those things that are intrinsic to Savannah and Savannah lore. And we're expanding that into because we do so well with our brothel tours up here with the Whoring 20s. We have a research working on more brothel information now to expand it into its own Whoring 20s tour for Savannah. And the last day that we were there, it's 8:30 in the morning. We're having breakfast, kitty corner from our hotel. We're at the DeSoto, and it's an outside venue that we're at. Of course, Savannah is 80 degrees, right? And there's a stoplight on the corner, and there are 5 tour buses that are pulled up waiting for the light to change. As soon as the light changes, they drive through, and another 5 buses pull up. And it's like that. From the moment you wake up in the morning, there are full tour buses through 1 o'clock in the morning. And these are groups of 25 to 40 people. And there are, we count in the dozens that are after midnight. I mean, we're talking, think about that. So you got 40 people on a tour times 20 tours. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. The area is rift. It is considered in fact, it's considered the most haunted city in the entire country. There's so much history that's there. And we give our little part of it, and we're expanding that to bring on more tours. Hence the reason I want to bring on this young lady to run this division. She is doing the best tour of anything we met down south. And I don't say that too lightly, but we have rather strict standards for what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are docents, people that have a background in history, people that have a little sense, of course, for entertainment, but people that really are into the subject matter. And there is a shortage of that right now. So in Key West, in Miami, certainly
Northwest,
New Orleans was terrible, man. I mean, everything's a booze tour down there. You can't get away from that. There's no factual anything. And I know that because we researched the tours for a company years ago. It's terrible. And Charleston, even the Mighty Bulldog tours, I was shocked at how bad they are today. It's been 10 years since I took one of their tours, but schlock, and unmotivated tour guides. And that's terrible, because you got people that, I mean, you're paying good coin to be on these things, right? You're taking time out of your life to be on this tour to actually learn something, especially the historic tours, not to mention the ghost tours, where you should have somebody who has some interest and or ability or respect for, right? I'm not finding that now. That's why it's a challenge to find the right tour people for you. And that's why this person is of interest to me. And that's the bigger reason why we're not expanding into St. Louis, because we have an opportunity there with some former Shakerettes that are now there, but I need more than just one or two. And the same thing with other cities. We've got people in many cities of the country now that have done my tours, that have been part of the team, that want to do something, but they can't find enough other people to round out that stable to do these effectively. But Savannah is a marvelous city.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, it's a tough business being in it myself. You know, I've had lots of opportunities to expand myself, and it's just you get maybe one good tour guide, but then you're putting a lot of trust in them, and
Right.
a lot of times they can easily screw it over. And for me, it's really about quality, you know, because I know taking tours all over the world myself and being a ghost hunter, and you know, you hear a great story. Of course, what am I going to want to do? I want to investigate the place. And then when I do my research, I found out that the stories never even happened. You know, it's all made up,
Right.
you know, dramatized, you know, stuff that they like to tell in the tours. And that right there frustrates me the most, because I really, you know, pride myself on when I do my tours is I'm telling people the real stories. That's why I started to do the tours, is because I wanted to tell people the real stories. I wanted to share the evidence that we were collecting on our investigations. And I think that's one of the things that has made us successful.
I'm glad you're talking about this, Ross, because you have a reputation as being one of the best in the industry, one of the best in this country.
Mhm.
You have
Thank
lauded and kudos all the time, which you obviously have well deserved for that. And that leads me into talking about, and I'll just kind of skirt the issue, but there are some programs out there where you've got people that are ghost hunters that are anything but. And they are a celebrity and a tight shirt that's rolled up, look at my arms kind of a thing. Did you hear that over there? Who have no business being any part of any real investigation for anything.
Right.
So if this is just being promoted as being a charade, as pure entertainment, because we don't have a clue what the hell we're talking about, and we don't care to, and our initials might be ZB or something, then that's totally cool, because you have gone from this echelon, my hand is way up here, of people that really care about what they're doing, know what they're doing, and have an interest to show and expose other people to it. And then you've got just the showman over here, who is a crappy showman at that, who is only out for, you know, I'm the rock star of this, where are my groupies? I can't come to a building if there's this, I can't do this. It's ridiculous. One of those same people, in fact, they wanted to shoot here 2 years ago, and they chased us down for a year. We finally put together a package. They signed off on the contract, and then they changed their mind. My attorney called and said, you know, it's less than 30 days. The first installment was supposed to be into us. So called them up, and they said, well, we want to pay less for this. And by the way, you know, our main guy, whoever that ZB guy might be, doesn't want to interact with the people at all. He refuses to make contact with the people. He doesn't want to talk, never wants to talk to people. He doesn't want to see people. Okay, what are you afraid of? We can't take shots at this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. You know, we've done legitimate film here for legitimate movie companies before, where it's none of this, where you have stars that might have their own quirks like everybody does, but they're, oh, this is my fan, I'm more than happy to meet you, how can I help you, how can I do this, how can I do whatever else. And the people that I have met in that industry, of one particular big time show and a few others in the ghost realm, have no interest in people, in their fans, in the material, in ghosts, in the paranormal, in anything at all. And it's a travesty that they get the play that they do, because it diminishes everything else that those of us who have interacted with this, and I have since I'm 4 years old, that have had experiences. And that's a shame.
It is. It really is, because those are the individuals that get all the attention that they don't deserve. You know, because we can talk about that certain individual, but I know for a fact that certain individual doesn't even ghost hunt outside of what he's just filming.
No.
You know, has no history in the paranormal, and yet, you know, that's the person at the top of the rung that people seem to think is more credible than somebody like me, who's been doing this all my life. You know, and that's the way it is. It's very unfortunate. You know, I could have been out there with him doing a lot of this stuff, having television shows, but I chose to focus on the credibility in this field.
Mhm.
That, you know, I've had
Yeah,
lots of
those-
television shows offered to me, and it's just like, no, I want to do my thing. I want to make sure when I'm doing my thing, it's being done right. And it is very frustrating what the field has become today. Because, you know, for me, I wonder when I finally get, you know, my material out there and published, you know, is the audience so far gone because all these television shows are so focused on imitating, you know, one certain series or a couple of those shows. It's all cookie cutter shows now.
Yeah.
That the audience is expecting all the drama every time you investigate, and it's not like that. I wish it was. I really do. You know, it's just, it's a lot of sitting around and hurrying up and waiting for something to happen, and it doesn't always happen. But
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that's how they sell those shows, is because they just have one fabricated moment after another. Because if they did it in real life, that's a lot of dead air time, and people lose interest. People are watching it for entertainment value, not for research, and that's who they're catering to, is the person who wants to see it for entertainment value. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to do the research. They don't want to debunk it. They want the shock and the awe. They want to go, oh my God, there really is something creepy in that house. They don't really care if it was fabricated. And it's sad.
You're right about that, Sonia. You're very right about that. But it's reality TV, right?
Yeah.
So there should be some reality that's in part of their formula for reality TV. We had one major documentary that was here a couple of years ago that reshot one scene 17 times. 17 times. So if you're thinking about any magical component that would have taken place, okay, and it's there, but the angle was wrong or something was wrong for them to reshoot it 17 times. Well, you're not filming that. You're now filming something in your own mind as how that should be, right? It's no longer reality TV. But.
Oh yeah, I've been in that situation myself. I've been on all those shows, and I've had to redo things over and over again, and it's just like it loses the value in what it really was originally started. You know, it's like, oh, I like what you said there, or oh, can you? It's like one show I was cut from because they're like, oh, that's a great story, but can you make it scarier? I'm like, no. Could you tell us you'll never come back here again? I'm like, no, I'm not going to go on national television as a ghost hunter and say, oh, I'm too afraid to be here. You know? And
I keep going back to Shakers, man. I'm scared of that place.
Yeah, and so
I was just going to say, true ghost hunters are like Michael, who are like, that place scares the shit out of me. I can't wait to go back. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fine to say that, you know. I'll be honest, there are a few places I will not investigate alone, but I'll go back, you know.
Sure, it's like saying you went to a brothel and you felt you paid too much money, but you can't wait to go back and do it again, right?
Exactly. I have left coins there for the ghost schoolies there. You know, I have left little quarters and pennies all over. So.
Oh, you cheap bastard. Oh my God.
I know. I'm on a budget. These are tough times we're in. So whenever I get my movie deal, I'll give everyone a bonus at Shakers.
Yeah.
Hoorah.
Well, tell us about your early days of ghostly encounters then, Bob. You said you started when you were 4?
Yeah, my not by intent. So
my
paternal grandfather and I were shoveling snow. We lived in a duplex above them. A duplex, for those of you in the country that don't know what it is, it's like 2 flats, one on top of the other. And so I'm just a kid outside, and my grandfather is there, and my mother was also out there shoveling. And my grandfather was a master chocolatier, and he owned several restaurants. So somehow he had taken the time out of his day to come and shovel. And well, it didn't work out well for him. So he had a massive heart attack, and he went down. And these are days before the paramedics. So it took forever for the rescue squad to get there. And when it did, it was stuck in the snow. And put him on the gurney. He's already blue in the face.
Oh, boy.
And neighbors had pushed this thing out to try to get to the hospital, which is only about 8 blocks away at the time. So it's the middle of the night. And again, I lived above my grandparents. So my bedroom was right off of our kitchen. And I get up to go pee. And there at the kitchen table, my bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, is my grandfather. Well, it's not really my grandfather, but it's a silhouette of him in this neon green kind of a thing. I can still see it. I'm drinking this mineral water right now out of this green bottle, and it's about this shade of green kind of a thing, if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, bug-eyed looking at this for a moment, and then it's as if he sees that I'm there or aware of me. He kind of waves me over, and I come and I stand next to him, and I feel better about his passing, right? And then he waves me on, I go to the bathroom, I go pee, and then he waves me goodnight, and I go to bed. And the next morning early, my mom is trying to get me up, to get me dressed. There's already dozens of people that have converged downstairs to pay their respects to my grandmother, right? And I'm trying to tell the story. I'm 4 years old. She's trying to get me dressed. I'm 4 years old. So I finally blurted out enough of the story, and she just grabs me, still not completely dressed, down the stairs, through the snow, in the front door. And I tell the story over and over again. And that was my first experience. And it was a rather profound experience. So from that time, certainly as a kid, I had all sorts of other things that would resonate with me. And then when I bought my first business, there was a freestanding building, and there was all sorts of things that took place there. And we had a back room, and this is back in the late 70s. We would have individual tables with candles on them. And at the end of the night, as part of the closing procedure, Fridays and Saturdays, we'd move the tables to the side, candles all off, whatever else. And then I'd take the staff out for breakfast, right? And then we come back and drink because, that's what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we would find that there was one table back in the center of the room with a candle on it that's burning. So I've got my entire closing staff with me. At that time, I had a business partner. He's with me as well. And none of the above that had keys are able to come back and unlock this thing. So one day I go and I get myself some flour. And this is before there's like 24-hour stores, whatever else. So it's the 70s. And I sprinkle flour. I'm the last guy out. And I sprinkle flour. There's 3 doors. So each one of the doorways, I sprinkle flour everywhere. So it's not like within like a foot or 2 or 3 feet. It's like you'd have to jump like over 5 feet to get past the flour, right? And in some of those, there's stairs involved. So it'd take a mean feat to do that. So we go to breakfast. And I'm, of course, the first guy back. And I got my girlfriend on my arm. And I can't wait to see this because I know there's going to be nothing there, right? There's a table in the center of the room with a candle on it. The candle is burning. And all this flour everywhere is completely intact. And, that was another thing that I could never explain, or the fact that we'd be downstairs and I was downstairs with the office manager. We're downstairs for a couple of hours. We keep hearing something or someone walking upstairs, and I would continually go upstairs and, grab a bat and walk around. There's nobody here. We're not open. There's nobody here. And at one point I opened the doors, and it's December. Now it has snowed outside. And again, by all these doors on the outside, there's no way you could approach anything. You could see, for 30 feet in all directions, there's snow everywhere. There's no footprints and nothing towards the door. And we both have heard somebody walking back and forth. So those are the things that have followed me my entire life, is hearing footsteps somewhere, the smells. I mean, going back to when my mother died, I hear my father and my sister, all in different cities, different houses, all smelled first this roses. She liked roses and this particular perfume that she would wear, all sorts of things like that. And then I've had the good fortune to travel around the world, even when I'm not filming, and just whether I'm, into food and wine everywhere. And I would find myself in all sorts of situations and places. I didn't look for things ahead of time. What's haunted? I'll go there. I'm going there for something completely different. And I had experiences where 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, you'd see a shadow moving inside your room, whatever. And then you go back and look at the backstory and say, oh, well, this kind of explains that. So I've always had a sense And going back to my grandparents, when my grandmother, obviously my grandfather's running the restaurants, whatever. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mom mostly, but she would read coffee grounds for women. So every Sunday there'd be a line of women on her front porch waiting for her to read her coffee grounds. Turkish coffee was the thing. And I kind of grew up with that. So whatever abilities or openness that she had continued forth with me as well. So
we just had that question in the chat about gifts. If anybody on the panel was a sensitive, psychic, medium, felt they were gifted in that way in any form. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm certainly sensitive to that degree, but I can be in all sorts of places that you wouldn't. I mean, I can just be in a crowd of people and I can sense different things about different people. And it's just there. I can't turn it on or off. It's just there. So
just that knowing or seeing or however it goes that time, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved the after death communication stories, after you lose a loved one and they come back and visit, and it's just you hear so many of those stories, whether it's them just saying goodbye or looking after you, but I just love those stories. And I was always very close to my grandmother, and when she passed, I was like, I was waiting for that moment with like, am I going to see her? Is she going to communicate to me? And I was literally on the verge of just, saying, I guess it's just not going to happen, But then all of a sudden, one day after one of my tours, all of a sudden, I go through my tip jar and there's these $2 bills, 2 of them. And I thought that's kind of odd. It's the first time I've ever received $2 bills. Who gives away $2 bills? It's kind of a unique thing. But it was kind of odd that I got those two $2 bills in my tip jar. And then a couple days later go by and I find another $2 bill. And my grandmother actually used to collect $2 bills. And so I was like, is that her trying to let me know that she's still around? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
In fact, I take some umbrage because we get a lot of investigation groups that come through here. And some are just completely loaded down with everything electronic you can possibly imagine. They don't have a whit of sensation about them. They don't have the ability they probably don't even have the ability to interpret properly what they've got for toys. They desperately want to be ghost hunters, but they don't understand the other portion of that goes with that and how the energy moves. They don't have the ability to look beyond themselves, frankly. You face in a mirror, and I say that because in mirrors, we have all sorts of images on a regular basis on every floor here. Some we've been able to photograph, and Michael's seen those. I think Ross might have as well. And if you're not open to things, you're going to miss so much. And so many of these folks come by and they're getting loaded to the gills with everything you can imagine. And they get responses on these things, but they get so much more if they just step back a little bit and open their mind and really allow something else to communicate with them. So
experience it. Yeah. Not just try to capture it, but experience it.
Right.
Yes.
Not, there's something about the personal experience that you have. And of course, for it to really be tabulated, we have to somehow have some sort of corroboration, someone else's experience or some sort of data capture. So it's tough to say, I felt this cold or I felt anxiety or whatever, and no one else had the same experience. You have no way of having an objective external data collection on something like that. But when you pull it all together, those little moments, and you can start to stitch it together into your total experience in that space as contributing to, the review of the information that you have, you have to take that into account. So many people just try to none of that's allowed. No subjective data at all. Take it all out. And it's like, well, but there's something to be said for that too, for just how was it when you were there? How did you feel? Even if you don't have to be a sensitive I mean, just how did you feel? You know, and a lot of people cast that aside. So it's nice to know that you're a little bit more like, no, bring it all in. That matters too.
See, I'm guilty. I'm one of those that'll bring all the equipment, but I want to validate when somebody who is sensitive is feeling that.
Mhm.
I want to be able to have the readings to match up to that, to validate
Right.
both of those experiences.
Mhm.
To say that, yeah, here we are. We got somebody who's sensitive who felt that there was something there. And now I can validate that sensitive person is picking up on something because we're also getting a reading there to validate that. So that for me, it's always been about the science. You know, it's great to go in and have an experience, but
I dig every part of that, Ross, but I'm saying that you can walk downstairs to my cellar and we have literally had thermometers. There's a 40-degree drop between the midpoint and the end of that. And so that does that. And my background, obviously, way before I got involved in this portion of this is I wanted to be as objective and analytical as I possibly can be. And we do utilize other things for that. But first, I think you have to be receptive to the human experience. And I think my only point, I'm not looking at you, is that so many people with all the gewgaws and everything else don't have that. They don't have an interest in the human experience at all. It's just for some other purpose than just that.
well,
And Ross, you actually know how to use your equipment.
That's what I was just
you
going to
actually know
say.
what you have in your hand.
That's the big thing is a lot of people buy this equipment because they see it on TV and they don't understand what the equipment does or what it's actually picking up. So, you know, that's the biggest mistake. You know, they're running around with an EMF detector and it's like, oh my God, my EMF detector is going off, not knowing that it's going off because they're standing right next to the TV, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, Mr. Big Muscles and Gel Hair has it, so I got to go buy it. So
Right. So ZB uses that stuff
Obviously.
or misuse that every program, right? So people watch that. I want to be just like him, right? I want the
I
same
gotta go buy
book
that.
he's got. Yeah, that's the reason. Absolutely.
I just want to be as buff as he is. I don't know that I'm going to get there though. I could keep trying.
Miss
It's
ZB.
not going to happen.
I keep calling. Yeah, it's Miss ZB. I thought Miss ZB.
Miss DB.
I keep calling it Miss ZB. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of jealous. I was like, man, I want to know what her workout is. But,
Right.
Zebra Bravo's doing. Zebra Bravo.
Well, since that individual's not really out there ghost hunting, I'm sure he's got plenty of time to work on it.
True. And probably, gets chemically enhanced quite often as well.
You know, I should watch myself. I'm going to get more hate mail because I'm saying all this.
Coming to all of us.
For ZB, nah? Well, okay, that's fine.
It's okay, Ross. Your mom's in the chat room, so she's got your back. Yeah.
That's all right. Even negative attention is attention. Just ask your friends.
That's right.
Look at how many times we brought him up. So
but you know,
he's
for
still
me,
trending.
It's just I really want to, like I said, I'm always so afraid that the audience is so far gone because they expect the drama, and it's just I try so hard to bring people off the ledges and say, come back to us. This is how it should be done. This is, where we're not really advancing ourselves as a society in paranormal research, because most people aren't educated. They don't understand, what real ghost hunting is all about. And now we're getting to the point where I've always said that there's far too many lazy ghost hunters than there are true paranormal researchers, because they don't want to go back and listen to the 8 hours of, audio or watch 8 hours of video that they just took. They just want that instant gratification, and that's enough for them, and they move on to the next. Some places, some people in groups, I should say, don't even want to go back to a place that they've already been to. Sometimes if they go to a great place like Shakers and maybe they didn't have something exciting happen that night, then they're done. They want to move on to the next place. Well, it may have been you might not have been there at the right time. And so, you got to give these places multiple chances. And if you truly are a paranormal researcher, you got to have your baseline and then go back and see what alters from that baseline.
I'm glad you said that, for God's sakes, because part of this is about even something simple as galvanic skin response, right? My hairs are standing up right now. I got goosebumps. I got something else. Something's going on. Well, then you can put the other side of the portion together. What is it exactly? But we always tell people on tours, this is not a Disney ride. We don't, say at 7:15, something's going to appear right over there. They've got their own schedule, if, when, and maybe some things react to you. Maybe some things don't react to you. Maybe some things don't want to react to you. So you just never know, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, again, those shows give people that idea that they expect that to happen every time. And if it doesn't happen, it's not haunted. What a waste of my time. I'm going to go on and move on to the next thing. And it's just like, no. Sometimes I've been to some of the most haunted places, and never had an experience. I got to walk through the Amityville house, nothing, but they claim that's one of the most haunted places, in the country. But I would still go back. But it's just
I have the opposite frustration. I have the opposite problem because of going insensitive, but you don't have anything happening external that can be captured. It's like, come on. I know you're here. Tell them, say something, talk to that little box they're holding. It's okay. Nothing. You're like, oh.
They're over in the corner giggling.
Happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and everybody's like, man, nothing happened. Like, it's not happened, but they won't tell you.
Maybe they were modulating on a different frequency than your equipment. Yeah.
They just couldn't get it.
But if I was expecting something to happen every time and it didn't, I think I probably would have given up on this a long time ago. But I, on to realize that it's
patience,
like
fishing.
A lot of patience. Exactly. It's a lot of patience. And when that one unique thing happens, it's all worth the while. It's all worth the wait.
Or like dating, for God's sakes, right?
Yep.
Michael?
Okay. Well, okay. What do you have going on down in Key West then? Or is that just a favorite place to visit?
I like Key West. I like Cuba quite a bit. I like Cuban culture. I like the historical origins of that. It's not me sitting on the beach drinking a daiquiri, but it's rather the portion that people are not exposed to. So in one of those Key West journeys, we are driving back up to, I think, Lauderdale or Miami to get out. And as we had driven in 5 days earlier, the seas were incredibly tranquil. And there is a place called the Bahia Honda, not a Toyota, but Bahia Honda Beach. It's one of the most beautiful beaches in the U.S. And it was as idyllic as you could possibly imagine. Now, as we're in Key West, there is a major tropical storm, and everything is shuttered for a moment. And now it's 5 days later, and we're leaving, and we stop at the same beach. And as opposed to 100 people that are on the beach, now there's only one other person besides my girlfriend and myself. And we're in the water, and it's rather choppy and turbulent. And as we're not that far out, maybe 40 or 50 feet, we see a couple of things. And one of the things that we see is a coconut. And one of the things that we see is a log. And they're both coming in slowly. So I am waiting for the log to approach me. And she swims out to the coconut. And right about the same time, the log hits me in the chest. And I realize that it's not a log. It's someone's leg that is twined with seaweed, that she has now swam out to the coconut, which, as you can surmise now, is not a coconut, but is a human head. And so, it's this kind of a thing, throw that back up, run up to the beach and, hose herself off with the thingy and contact the, I think, Monroe County Sheriff's Department. And as they do their background on me, to make sure I'm not just the average psychopath in Florida that's calling something in, They say, well, Mr. Weiss, it's not that big of a deal because this happens every day. We have these major storms come through and people are leaving Cuba and they get swept overboard of whatever they're on, this little raft or something probably, and the sharks get them and it's not a big deal. And I say, well, maybe not to you, but perhaps to them. And if nothing else, you might want to clean up your beach because it's because. So I've always had experiences that are there. And if you go back a couple of 100 years ago, when the different Indian tribes were fighting for dominion over Key West before European explorers even got there, it was a very bloody area. And then you had all the action taking place with the pirates and the buccaneers there. There's been a lot of money. Whenever there's money, there's duplicity. There's murders, there's all sorts of things. There's the rum running, the bootleggers. There's a vibrant history in Key West. And much of that goes back to Cuba as well, because that's the destination or the origin rather for rums and any number of other things that used to come here, especially during Prohibition. So it's as far as I can get away from the US without leaving the US. And it's a quick little jaunt for me. And I have a much different experience than just the drunken hooliganism that you find in Duval Street, because that's, whatever. That's what that is. But the Cuban culture is really significant there. And again, I have this whole fixation with Cuba. I've been down several times and I enjoy every part of my experiences there. So though I've never experienced Santeria in Cuba, or rather in Key West, I have in Cuba, and it is a very profound pathway into something beyond the norm as well. So that's just kind of how and why I do things there. I don't have a tour that's there. We did consult on a tour 10 or 12 years ago. I'm intimately familiar with the things that are there, and I dig it, man. That's why I'm there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the drive to Key West, that long bridge over the water. It was amazing.
Yep.
Oh my God. But then you
Perhaps
also
the
get to
best in
see,
the country.
yep. Then plus you get to see Robert the Doll. In Key West. So yeah.
Now, a friend in the chat room was asking me to present a ordeal he had a few days ago, or maybe it was a week or so ago. His stepfather passed away over the winter, and Chris inherited his grandfather clock. Now, the grandfather clock has no weights, hasn't run since like 1974, I believe, and anything like that. As Chris's wife was walking by the clock, it was about noon, I believe. And one of the chimes, just only one, started donging doing its ringing thing. And he captured it on video, but there's no good explanation. There were no thunderclaps, no earthquakes, no trucks going by. It was only one of 12 chimes that was making noise, and he was kind of wanting to get you guys' take on that. He thinks it's a sign from Bob.
Well,
that was his stepfather's name.
I have to say that manipulation when it comes to clocks is a common phenomena, especially after death. There are tons and tons of stories out there where clocks will stop at the exact moment when somebody passes away. Grandfather clocks are another common phenomena that have been known to do odd things after somebody passes. You have to understand that the mechanism, especially in old antique clocks, are very sensitive. And so I believe that the energies around can manipulate those devices quite easily. So I think that is probably what is going on. Is it's very well possibly could be his grandfather, you said, or stepdad.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask if, because they're sensitive, all the mechanisms in there, is it possible that did they move that grandfather clock from the residence of the prior owner to their home? Could that have knocked something loose?
Well, the fact that it was weeks after, and it was only the one, it's hard to say.
Reading in
Yeah, I
chat
gotta.
too, because he said they can't recreate it, and
Right.
there's no chimes that are actually in the clock.
Right. Oh,
Now,
okay.
a prime example I have is I've got a clock that sat on the desk of a warden in his office, and he was shot and killed in his office during an escape attempt. And for some reason, this clock has never worked. And then I took it because I have, my museum that I take around every so often when we do these events. And we had taken the clock to this old, Preston Castle. And once we got it there, all of a sudden it just started working. It just started ticking. You could hear it ticking. And it hadn't worked in years. And I had moved that thing around quite a bit, taken it to different places. It's been dropped a few times and it never worked. And then all of a sudden we took it to that one haunted castle, and all of a sudden it just started working. And then
That's cool.
it stopped. So I can't explain.
That's your next book, Ross, is Haunted Clock.
Haunted clocks, haunted video games, haunted everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Did that answer it, Chris? Good. Anyway, okay.
It's pretty crazy if there's no chimes.
I'd love to
actually
see
in
the
the
video.
clock.
I-
Yeah, if he wants to
Sonia,
share
can you
video.
play it?
Yeah, let me see if I can grab it. 1 second.
Okay.
Of course, then it's going to be the whole. I gotta take control. I don't know if. Hold on 1 sec. I'm gonna have to take control.
Yeah, and June got an EVP later when asking about the clock, and a voice said, "Yes, I fixed it."
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
Oh.
about that. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, we're looking this up, guys, in podcast land. So bear with us a moment.
When we're doing that, how about this little
Mhm.
story? So Ross had
Oh,
mentioned the
please.
Robert doll in Key West.
Hmm.
I've got a story about that. So again, the same girlfriend, different time in Key West, and we're at the East Montello Museum where the Robert doll resides, and he's behind a glass case. It's almost like the Mona Lisa, and there's pictures everywhere, and there are letters everywhere from people that have written, "We took your picture. We're sorry about this. Please forgive us." Blah blah blah. You got the letter from governor and also of the mayor of Key West. Mayor of Florida, mayor of Key West, and the governor of Florida. So signs everywhere: do not take pictures, do not take pictures. So of course I take pictures because that's just so we've gone maybe 20 feet beyond that point, and I get hit in the head by something which causes a gash, and I'm spurting blood.
Oh,
Now, it's not my girlfriend, and there's nobody else in the swing of the museum, and the ceilings have got to be 13 or 14 foot tall. And there's nothing anywhere that I could have walked into, and yet I'm spurting blood, right?
mhm.
So we, kind of put a thing on that and drive back into the city of Key West and get a bag of peas. And then we continue on to drive because, again, we're headed out of town. And we get back to Lauderdale, which is our out point. And right before that, we're in a rental car. So we take the rental car back. And I had left my wallet and my glasses in the rental car as we scurry to the airport. We get to the airport. They close the gate just as we're walking up. The smile on their faces is just precious. Sorry, you're too late. So now we go back to the rental thing. And when we go back to the rental place, I reclaim my wallet and my glasses. And then we're on this little shuttle kind of thing. So as we're in the shuttle, we're in the back row, and she stands up. She's in the center, and I then stand up as well, not realizing that there's a little convex portion to that. And I now crack my head. So I'm bleeding from my forehead. I've now got this boxer's, cauliflower ear kind of thing going on, and I'm just kind of dazed, right? So we have a few other travails. We get back to Milwaukee. And we get to my place again, suburban Brookfield, where there's 0 crime rate, and the 4 tires on my car, because we had an Uber back there, the 4 tires on my car are now flat. So that's what I got from taking the picture of the Robert doll, a series of things that I can't account for, And yet there they are. So things do happen. Now back to the
Mhm.
clock.
No, I don't know. I was kind of curious too.
Well, I have the link to the video and I just sent it to our tech guru. So we're going to see if we can get this to play for everybody. Because I was having some difficulty with the whole switching live share tech, not my thing. If you haven't noticed, I am not the ghost hunter with all the crap. I don't know how to work it. I'm lucky I've got the camera.
Are you with us,
rolling.
Jake?
I
Jake,
am,
can you
I
hear
am.
us?
I'm queuing it up. I'm queuing it
Okay.
up.
thanks.
He's here. He's helping out.
And we will have remedial training on this. I'm just saying. Okay.
I am a Luddite, and the crap of it is that when I got called a Luddite the first time, I'm like, what's that? And I Googled it. And then I went, oh,
Okay.
that's ironic.
You can see the
That
video.
is quite ironic.
Yeah. Yes,
All right.
there
I
it
shall
is.
now play the video.
Is there audio?
Yeah, there should be. I've got it shared.
Is it me? I'm not hearing anything.
You're
Mm-mm.
not?
No,
Same
and-
here.
No.
Anne's talking there.
Yeah, I can't hear. And if the tech guy doesn't have it, I cannot help you.
I mean, it's shared with audio on.
Huh.
And it's turned up.
Interesting. Well, maybe they don't want us to hear.
Blame the ghosts.
I was going to say you can definitely post it in the link, so everyone can go back.
Yeah,
and
the
watch.
link is in the comments.
Yeah.
They might have to check it out.
Okay, well, I can try resharing it. One sec. But I mean, it's got the audio on in the Zoom. Do you want me to try it again?
Sure, give it another shot.
Okay, let me stop and I'll do it again.
Okie dokie.
1 minute, please, while I retrieve that information.
We're not first, we don't succeed.
Okay, going to share screen, picking Chrome grandfather clock video. Share sound is selected. Sharing. Drag it back a little bit. And you can still see it, right?
Yeah,
Yes. hmm
Because I've got it cranked up.
there we go.
There it is.
We'll blame the evil spirits.
Well, you can't see it, but there's no weights. The weights are not hooked up to this clock. This clock has not worked in 30 years.
Do, 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 do.
Was it doing that when you walked in or when you walked past it?
When I walked past it, it started up. And then I heard it. When I came in here earlier, it was not. There was silence.
I've never heard it.
And I was like, what is that? I thought, is it hangers? Then I was like, no, it's that clock. How is that happening? It's not hooked up to anything. There's no chimes.
I'm going to blame the cat.
You must have stepped really freaking heavy right by it. I've stepped heavy and have not made it chime. I don't know why it's doing that. Silver, what do you think?
I weigh all of 120
Silver did.
I know.
pounds. I don't think I could
Dang
make
it,
do
Silver.
anything.
I know, that's
So
what I
going-
mean.
so
It
it's
doesn't
not-
make any sense for this
it's not-
clock to start chiming.
it's an oddity to the fact that it keeps going. It's already done it past 12
Yeah, I know where
chimes.
it's coming from.
Right.
The clockworks are behind this here.
And it's not
But
doing it
move
in
this
the
out of the way, I'll show
proper order, if that makes sense. It
Uh,
doesn't have the
Doesn't have the
Right.
basic same rhythm. Yes.
yeah the sequence.
The rhythm. Yeah.
See, if it were me, I'd be grabbing a screwdriver and starting
See,
to pull
it
crap
feels
apart.
like-
Yeah, I'll make them.
But why?
I need a flashlight.
Wow, that's cool.
It'd be creepy if a little kid jumped out.
I know.
Fuck.
Surprise!
Get back on! Get back on!
Do you want to play a game? Walk through, and the other side is the Lion, the Witch, and the
So-
Wardrobe. Some half goat dude.
You know, usually with these, it's, of course, the clock is supposed to, at max,
I mean,
ring
that
12
thing's
times,
really-
Mhm.
Look at the way
right?
that thing's
Because
vibrating.
that's what it's
Stop.
supposed to indicate.
In this
But it's
dimension.
As
way
soon as
past
you
that.
shine the light on it, it stopped.
What the hell? I mean, it's still,
It's still vibrating a little, but it stopped.
yeah.
Is that not
Look at that
strange?
sucker go.
Hmm.
And it's only that one.
Scared the
that's
ghost away.
vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
Oh, I see. So they're knocking against each other.
So what
Yeah.
he keeps playing with the chain, so I wonder if it's what keeps making it that noise
Okay,
is the chain
then.
swinging by it.
I have no
One of the things
clue.
I would have to ask is when that's one of the
Yeah.
things, the first things he does is he
Well,
goes in and shows.
look-
That is
like-
really strange.
You can see the chimes swinging around in the back of it and knocking into each other when he gets the flashlight out. But he's not. They're
Well,
not.
there
really
you go,
touching it at that.
folks. Your spooky
Crazy.
moment.
Do you want me
So
to pull back the timer a little
Whatever
bit
it
to
is.
review something?
no, that's fine. That's
I
fine.
don't know.
It's a very good video, and I appreciate.
Yeah.
With that
Yeah,
clock,
thank you for that.
so as you see all the metal rods that go down, and that's what makes a chiming thing. So up above, there's usually
Yeah.
a hammer that'll swing back and forth, and it will chime, and it'll go like 12 times to tell you what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's its purpose, right?
Right.
So, and you couldn't see it in the beginning, but he does open it up and he shows, hey, there's no weights in here. So, is the constant ringing because he messed with those chains and now they're swinging back and forth and hitting those rods? That could explain why it continues to keep going off, because that's an oddity that it just kept going even after 12 chimes. So without actually personally being there and to see actually what was happening, and unfortunately poor video quality, what started in the first place, that's a mystery. But clocks do interesting things when it comes to the paranormal, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Especially these old antique ones. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What do
It'd
you
be
think,
interesting
Bob?
to see.
I concur with Ross. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
I'd have to think there's some other manipulation taking place there, but again, not being there, how do you know?
Mhm.
but thank him
Cool.
for sharing. So
Yeah,
Yep. Thank you, Chris.
that's great.
Yeah, thank you
And he's
so
thanking
much.
everybody back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know much about
That's
clocks, and it's going to make me want to go learn more about them. I guess to learn about how that mechanism works.
it is a fine art, especially that's why
is.
old
Yeah.
clocks are so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now it's it's all metal gears and batteries, and
so you got to really look into it. Get a little manual online or something. Google.
Perhaps it means that time is running out for all of us. How about that?
there you go.
Wow.
There you
Very
go.
profound. I like it.
Mm.
Well, Bob,
Speaking of
I
time
hope
running out
you'll.
for all of us,
Yeah, I'm hoping you'll share some of your travels and to witness the Santeria and the probably some brujeria in there as well, and all of that. That sounds like an amazing trip.
Yeah,
There
if you ever
is
have
a,
room, I'll join you.
Perhaps I'll take you up on that, but there's a
Yeah.
slew of material that's coming everyone's way. First, though, we have to finish off this entire southern U.S. spin. And just the cemetery value alone, whether it's the Second and Violet in Key West, whether it's one of the cemeteries in New Orleans, or certainly anything that we came upon in Savannah. Bonaventure is such a gem. And the Magnolia Cemetery in Charleston is pretty cool too. We've got things. And Michael and I did some little things up here at the Forest Home Cemetery and Calvary as well. And we joke all the time that I have to drive my Tesla through sometime to see if we can see the spirits that appear on the screen. But cemeteries are a marvelous place in my mind for so many reasons and purposes. It's not just the fact that we honor our dead and kind of an edification process, but it also brings us home as human beings into what this is about, whatever this might be. Certainly life and death are very important and crucial components of that, and how we celebrate that, how we regard that, and how we treat others in the process as well. So much about us as people. So
Yeah.
A short trip.
Yeah, I love giving tours in cemeteries. One of the tours I do is I tell people how to read tombstones, because especially in the old pioneer cemeteries, people don't realize there's a lot of symbolism, and those symbols mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had one that I was going to ask you about, Ross, but when I went back for the pictures, they were distorted. My phone was dying at that point, and the pictures came out a little distorted, probably from that.
Blame ghosts. It's okay. Blame ghosts.
It could be. Brenda was there. She got a couple, but it was a tall log made to look like a tree. And it had a big plaque on it. And it was just neat.
Those are common, yeah.
So those are the markers for the woodsman.
Right. And it says something about the woodsman on there. And I don't know. I had wanted to show you, but it didn't end up panning out on that one.
I like those ones. And the symbolism in cemeteries is cool. The big tree, the logs, the trees.
I had just never seen one that tall before.
So usually when they're taller, again, you also have to consider the fact that during the Victorian era, it was all about showing off your wealth.
Right.
So, the bigger the tombstone, of course, the more wealthier you were. It was, so a lot of times when you have huge tombstones, it was a show off. It was a marker to show off.
Right.
But also too, a lot of times the taller it is, sometimes it can indicate how long of a life they may have had. So the taller the tree stump, the longer they lived. A lot of times when it has the branches that spew off the cut off limbs, that can symbolize offspring to show that they had children. And so sometimes you count those and that may match up to how many children they had. So there's all kinds of different features that you can see looking at those. But that also varies too in the region that you're in too, because sometimes that may change. Because what we feature in the Northwest could be different than what's featured on the East Coast.
Right.
So
and we're in the middle.
So you have a lot of translation going from the East Coast to the middle to the Northwest. So by the time it got to the Northwest, because we were always the last to get anything, the meaning changed. So
we just got Chick-fil-A a couple of years ago. It's tragic. We are the last ones to get everything.
There is a beautiful cemetery, by the way, in France, Chalon-sur-Marne, in the Champagne district. And the bell outside, and you talk about for whom the bell tolls. Of course, it tolls for all of us or each of us. But these are headstones that go back to the 1300s, and it gives you a completely different sense on history. And again, our place in everything, And I highly recommend that people go to Europe anyway. And I know it's a pricey little thing, but the experiences are so worth it, because we've been here for 250 years, for God's sakes. To go to find a civilization that has got 1,000 years plus on us way
Mhm.
plus before the recorded history type thing, the gas, Visigas, whatever, is transcendent. And I've long maintained that all politicians should be forced to spend a month in France to see how things work and how things don't work. It'd be a different world for us here,
Yeah.
but also not just for the living, but for the dead as well. And talking about this history that Ross has with the catacombs, that's extraordinary.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Very
Yeah, I just
cool.
spent.
Speaking of France, it was kind of interesting when I was doing walking through a cemetery out there. I remember becoming baffled when I saw a tombstone that had the etching of this guy's life, and in his elderly years, what they had was him in his deathbed, and he was nursing on this young woman. And I was like, oh my God, why is this? And I come to find out that back then they believed that breast milk was the most healing, nurturing substance you could acquire.
Sure.
And so it wasn't uncommon for young ladies to nurse elderly men.
We should bring that movement back, Ross.
So just some of the most amazing things you learn about. And so yeah.
Cool. Very,
That's
very
so
cool. Well, it looks like we're
we're at time, aren't we?
we are, yes.
Look at that.
So any closing statements from everybody, or what do you have, Bob? Maybe how do people can get a hold of you if they're
My gosh, yes, please. Hangmantours.com. That's hangmantours.com. But you can find us, we're everywhere now on this interwebby thing. And we'd be honored to have you at Shakers. It is a full experience, and you shan't be disappointed because, things do deliver here. In addition to that, there are other tours as well. But again, they're all on Hangman Tours. And I'm honored for the opportunity to be here, especially at this very exalted group that you put together. So, if I could answer any questions anytime, you could hit me an email at shakersmilwaukee@gmail.com that goes directly to me. I'd be happy to help any way I possibly can for anything. And I'd be more than happy to share any of the experiences here. So cheers.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, I just have to say thank you, Bob, for the opportunities you've given me. Shakers does have a special place in my heart, and hopefully I can come back and not ignore your apparitions. All right. And I definitely would love to come back, and hopefully we can work on something together. It'd be amazing.
Cool. Look forward to that. Michael, how are you?
Doing great. No, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. I guess you can find all my stuff with I'm featured on Bob Weiss's channel for Shakers. One of my pictures recently got put in Ross's book, which is amazing, on haunted prisons. So I've been it's been a fun year for me.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Sonia, anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
I
Thank
love
you
meeting
so much,
Bob.
Bob.
For having us,
I
man.
can't wait to travel out there and see your bar and
Mhm.
probably not stay the night. No offense, but I think we'll pass. I'm probably gonna do it in the summer, not the winter.
Nice. Let me know when.
Spring.
It's cold up here even in the summer.
Yeah. I'll bring my vest with my battery pack.
There you go.
You'll need it.
To be honest, you would probably be safe in the upstairs rooms. It's the basement you'd have to be wary of.
Right?
True.
Right? I'm a little afraid of that safe. I'm thinking there's a dead body in there or something. That's why you can't get it open. I'm gonna stay away from that thing.
No
But
doubt.
yeah, and I'll make sure I'm still a brunette when I head over there and I haven't gone on another one of my red kicks or something. So we'll check that box for sure. Well, thanks for coming on all.
Yes.
Yes.
If you all are interested, I know that Ross is going to be on Coast to Coast here in another hour or so.
Yes, that's why I kept checking my phone. I was just making sure. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I gotta get ready for Coast to
On
Coast.
time.
So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And well, next Wednesday we've got the Paranormal Activity Investigators, which is my new group here in Kansas City. Or it's new to me. They're very established from 2003, and So we'll have a fun time then again as well. And once again, thank you all for tonight. It's been a fantastic show. Bob, I can't wait to hear more travels and visit Shakers.
Wendy, I will keep in touch. And again, thank you very much for the
Perfect.
opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Delightful to have you. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks. All right. Jake, you going to take us out?
Well, not much more to say other than thank you for tuning in, folks, watching us on the Facebook.
Yes.
And have a very good evening. And don't forget to watch Ross on Coast to Coast. while
Watch
listening.
Ross.
That's right.
Okay.
And come back next
There we go.
Wednesday.
And come back next
Yeah.
Wednesday for that Kansas City ghost hunting group that Wendy's in.
That's right.
I need lots of spooky stories for them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Have a good night, folks.
Good
All right.
night.
Good night.
Okay, bye.
Good night, everyone.